So in this video, I'm going to give you some additional support, hints, tips, and maybe even a little lecture to help you with some of the test items. Please read this information on your own. Let's go ahead and move to the test itself. Well, this is about the test itself, but it's more general, very important. But let's go ahead and focus on the test items. So from units 1 and 2, I do have some test items. I have 2 or 3 items about assumptions, and in fact, I have one multiple choice about assumptions, and I might have some true false, or it might be that I just want you to think as of multiple choice as true false, right? Because when you're looking at multiple choice, you're choosing the one best answer, and often that gets phrased as which one of these is true, which one's false, which one's consistent, which one's inconsistent, and whatnot. So there'll be 1 to 2 multiple choice getting at these questions right here and the answer to that. But I'll also have an item that is showing attention to this question. What assumptions did I say we would focus on? So when it comes to these little study questions I have here, it has to do with a lecture that I did on assumptions during Unit 1. As you can see, this says access relevant portion of video-based lecture in the Task 2 folder, Step 3. And so I actually tell you, I'm going to find that in your, give me a second here. I'm going to pull that up in the folder to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So what you'll do is, hold on. What you'll do for this part of the test is you're going to go to Unit 2, and you probably already saw it, and you might have actually already listened to that part of this section of the video that I am referencing, okay? But notice what it says here. Step 3, you will need to watch again a video I posted to help you with the soft talk module in intellectual virtue, should say on intellectual virtue. And then it says you're going to want to watch that video from about the 2020 mark to about the 2230 mark. So this is the video that I'm referring to in the study guide when I talk about assumptions. And as you can see, you can get everything that you need for that part of test from about a 2-minute mark. So just watch the video and answer these questions and you should be fine. Now, in the test, the actual test that I've constructed, it's not going to be short answer. So like I said, this will be multiple choice. This here is going to be fill in the blank. So take very detailed, very precise notes of what I say. All the wording that I use is really important, so you might just want to type out what I say when it comes to the assumptions that I said we would focus on. Okay, so now let's go to intellectual virtue. And by the way, as I'm going through the study guide, I'm actually looking at the actual test questions in case I want to give you some more hints in terms of the actual formatting of a testing item. So also from both units 1 and 2 will be some test items focused on intellectual virtue. There will be fill in the blanks, multiple choice, and matching. You'll need a clear, accurate, and precise understanding of information provided in the soft talk module you completed during Unit 1. So I posted a copy of this below the link to this document. So by that, I mean, here's the Step 1 study guide. That's what we're looking at now. This is the lesson. So if you did not download a copy of the soft talk module lesson on intellectual virtue, so if you click here, you will get that lesson. When it comes to that, I didn't give you a study guide for that, but I could ask you anything from anywhere in that lesson. It could be multiple choice, true, false. There won't be any fill in the blanks from the soft talk module from that Step 2 download. I know I'm thinking some of you did download the lesson from that module when you were doing Task 2 of Unit 1, but just in case you didn't, I went ahead and included it here for you. Keep in mind that you will need to refer to that soft talk lesson throughout the remainder of the semester for all of the tests. So make sure you download a copy in case I don't provide a copy for you in the other units. So just know that I could create any kind of question or item with respect to what's in the soft talk module. And then I have the video lectures for Steps 2 and 5 of Task 2 in Unit 2. And then I say use the Step 1 document download to see study questions. I used some way and to construct test items. So there are some test items that are going to come straight out of a video or a lesson that you should have completed prior to getting to this test prep. So right now we're on task 3 of Unit 2. But what you were supposed to do before getting to this particular task is resist the temptation to possibly skip around and follow the order that I gave you. So your first task in Unit 2 was to learn more about epistemology. And then your second task was to work through some steps of following some videos and reading stuff about regulative epistemology and how that connects to intellectual virtue and intellectual humility. I have this as the next task because it logically follows from reading about epistemology that I would say something else, extend and broaden your knowledge of epistemology. So going back to the study guide then, or connecting back to the study guide, I say that you should use something from step 1. So here it says download the study guide for the steps below. So this is task 2. You're learning about regulative epistemology. This comes before task 3, learning about your Unit 2 test. When you click here, there is a study guide. You need to complete all of the study guide. And I went over this in the Unit 2 coaching video. I posted it in the updated announcements for your course reminders and updates and whatnot. But I also say that you will need in the study guide for intellectual virtue information from step 5. So this is a video lecture here. Use this study guide from step 1 of task 2 in Unit 2. Use this study guide to work through the other steps. So step 1 is to download the study guide. And then step 2, I have study questions for you. So if you go to step 2 of 5, follow and learn from a 13-minute video. So while you're following the video, you look for answers to these questions. These questions are given to you in the order that you would find answers to them in the step 2 video. Please keep in mind, I might have said this elsewhere in the course, but just to make sure, because not everyone watches all of the videos or we get distracted while watching videos, you're going to need the answers to these questions in this study guide for all of the tests this semester. I won't test you on everything in the study guide in all of the tests, but there's some information that I want you to remember throughout the semester, so you might as well go ahead and just complete this study guide if you have not done so. But again, the way that I have presented the task and the task components to you, I'm assuming that if you're listening to this video, if you're learning about the task 3, that is the Unit 2 test, that you've actually already completed this. And if you've already actually completed this, it helped you learn what I was going over, and you've already prepared for this test and others. Or at least part of it, I should say. I need to be careful how I phrase that. All right. So when it comes to the these items right here, okay, so this is very important. So when it comes to the study guide right here, when it comes to intellectual virtue, what I'm going to pull from in the study guide is going to be from step 5 in the study guide and this is from step 5 of task 2, but we're in task 3 right now. And I'm just saying when it comes to questions on intellectual virtue specifically, it's either going to come from the soft talk module lesson or it's going to come from some videos, whether it's step 5 right here or step 2 right here. Now, here I've presented this again as questions, so as short answers, but when you get to the test, these could be in a different format. So for example, I could have these two as multiple choice, or I could have it as fill in the blank. So I might give you the definition for analytic epistemology, and then you have to know what word I'm defining without a multiple choice. So I could just give you the definition I go over in this video, the step 2 video for task 2 of Unit 2, and then you have to say, and then you look at your notes, you look at this study guide, and you're like, oh yeah, she talked about this kind of stuff when I was doing the study guide for test 2, and then you have to type in analytic epistemology. So I guess there will be some short answers now that I'm thinking about it. In fact, I'm gonna look at the test so I can make sure I give you more precise information. If you hold on, it's worth waiting for. I'm gonna actually look at the test right now. So I can give you the most accurate information. Yes, okay. So when it comes to these two questions, answer them, take good notes, or whatnot. but for these two questions, I will have these in the Unit 2 test, and they will be in the form of fill in the blank. So you're not going to get like a word bank. It's not going to be multiple choice. It's not going to be matching where you get to see what the possible answers are. You have to know what the answers are in the test because these are going to be fill in the blank. It's either going to be you have to know the name of the kind of epistemology that I am describing, or you have to fill in missing words from the description that I give you in the video that's associated with step 2 of task 2 of unit 2. Okay. To what kind of epistemology does Lawhead? Okay, so yeah. So I might have this as a question. It won't be fill in the blank. If I have this question, it's going to be multiple choice or true false. This one, what did I? Oh, this is going to be fill in the blank right here. This is going to be multiple fill in the blank. So make sure that you follow the video that goes with step 2 of task 2 to get the complete definition. Take a picture of it, write it down, don't reduce it, don't leave out words. Write down the complete definition so that you know what the missing words are. I am going to have an item here about epistemic goods, and I'm going to look at the test to see what the format is of that to give you a clue. I'm looking, I'm not pausing. Oh yeah, so I will have a multiple choice item based on my lecture with respect to question 5 of the study guide for task 2, step 2, that video. All right, so I might have some other stuff from here, but the items that I covered will definitely be in there. So there was a step 3 in task 2. That's where you were supposed to, is that a video lecture? Okay, so I want to make sure that that was actually a video lecture. So step 3, no. So this says that it's a video lecture, but it's not. This is actually a written lecture. So cross that. I think that, well, if you followed the video for step 3, or you followed step 3 already, you already know that. So this is not a video lecture. In fact, I think I have that as a note somewhere. This is actually a written lecture. So you just go through the reading and complete these items. Any of these items could be in the form of like a multiple choice. I can tell you that right here, I am going to have these 2 items on the Unit 2 test, and these are going to be short answer. These will be short answer, fill in the blank. I'm looking for one word that names a philosopher from the Smart Book reading. Here, one word that names a philosopher from the Smart Book reading, but you won't find the answer in the Smart Book. You'll find it in step 3 of task 2. Remember, this document, the study guide, goes with task 2 of Unit 2. So step 3 is right here. It says read through and learn from a lecture. The study guide says video, but it's a document that you download and read from. Okay. All right. So you're not going to get a possible answer selection for these 2 items. You're going to have to know the names, and you're going to have to get the answers from step 3 here in task 2 of Unit 2. Let's see what else I want to clue you into. I might pull from 2 or 3 of these. They would be fill in the blank. And in fact, all of these are fill in the blank. So if I do pull from some of these, they're going to be verbatim or nearly verbatim. So it's worth, keeping this guide handy while you're taking the test, because I know I'm going to pull at least one of these items, if not more, into the test. And they will be fill in the blank. From here, I will have 1 or 2 of these true-false items in the test, but not as true-false. Well, actually, it could be true-false. It could be multiple choice. Or I might just give you the statement and then have you type in true or false. In fact, let me look at the test so I can narrow it down for you just to give you a heads up. So yeah, I'm going to give you at least one of these statements, and then it'll be true, false, but you're going to type in true or false. Now, when it comes to this part right here, step 2 and step 4, okay, that actually is for a different part of the study guide. That is for steps 2 and 4 of that document actually are for this part of the study guide. So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but that would be for this part way down here. So the task 2 study guide where it says regulative epistemology and intellectual virtue, I just went over that with you. Somehow I went ahead and skipped over to that part. Okay, so that's right here. step 3, and step 4. I might have said step 2, but I didn't mean to for this part. So this is step 3, this is step 4, and that has to do with this part of the study guide. I started off talking about the part of task 2 in unit 2 that is focused on intellectual virtue, and that is the focus of the task 2 study guide here, step 2 questions, and then step 5 questions. Okay, so now we're all good on that. And just to clarify, to make sure we're on the same page, there will be test items on intellectual virtue. This is the study guide. Answer those questions. The items that focus directly on intellectual virtue will come from here, right here, okay? And then from right here, step 5, for sure. Of course, step 1 is the study guide, and step 2. The stuff that focuses on regulative epistemology in the study guide will come from step 3 and step 4 of task 2. Okay, so yes, just in case, I am a little bit tired when I created this video. Unfortunately, I had a night of insomnia, but I said I would have the study guide video up by a certain time, and so that's why I'm persisting, even though I'm very tired and it's a little bit hard for me to stay focused. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead and move along. So now we've got from unit 2, and this video is only for page 1, okay? And if you have any questions about something I said here, like I confused you, just let me know. Just tell me what you did note. Tell me what you do understand, and then I'll answer your question. I just need to tell that you tried to make sense of what I said here. All right, so from Unit 2 specifically, of course, the focus of Unit 2 in terms of the branch has been epistemology. You will have multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank items. You might also have some true-false items. So the traditional definition for the main concept, notice I even tell you where in the book to get to focus on. So and also, of course, I put notes over here. But what I would do is for each of these bullet points, I would take notes maybe on a separate sheet of paper. So for each section in the study guide, I would have from Unit 2, then a subtitle epistemology. Then I'd even write smart book pages. And then I'd do an outline in notebook paper and take notes for each of these bullet points that you can easily refer to, but also know where specifically you can find this information. So as you create your notes and your study guides on notebook paper, you can also say, okay, which specific pages cover the traditional definition for the main concept. So narrow it down so that when you're taking the test, you know where to specifically go. Now, some items are harder to locate because some items LawHead covers in a weird way throughout multiple pages, but a lot of the stuff, like the traditional definition for the main concept, you can just say, go to page such and such. All right, since the test is timed, that's a very helpful thing to do. All right, so I'm going to skip this for right now, but just keep in mind that most of this is in the SMART book right here. So then we've got the 3 main epistemological questions discussed in the chapter. So this is basically the introduction to chapter 3. And then he starts to focus on specific theories. So towards the end of his introduction, and I believe it's right before he introduces the 5 theories, he says, hey, I'm going to frame my discussion of the big theories with respect to 3 questions, and he presents them in a list-like format. I'm going to present this one to you in a multiple choice. Here's one that a lot of students get stuck on, and that has to do with the 5 theories that he initially introduces you to in this page range, and really it's towards the end. So look around pages 176 to 178. He initially introduces you to 5 theories, the big ideas only. He elaborates on each of the theories in different sections in the chapter, but he gives you an initial understanding in relation to the 3 main epistemological questions. Now, I didn't have you read about or go in depth with respect to all the theories. I had you focus on skepticism, rationalism, and empiricism. If you want to learn about the other theories, you can always do the reading on your own. I think you have access to that book, the ebook, for like 6 months. But you could always read about the other theories on your own. But I just wanted you to focus on a few. So I don't ever make a student read a whole chapter of anything. But I still wanted you to have an idea of what each of the 5 theories that he introduces you to in the introductory part of this chapter are about. Now, this is going to be fill in the blank. I'm going to lift some wording from this page range, okay? So like, for example, he'll have a paragraph. He'll introduce the 3 questions. Then he's going to have a paragraph on skepticism. Then I'm going to lift some wording from his paragraph on skepticism, and you're going to have to know the name of the theory, that the wording is referring to is skepticism. So when it comes to the 5 theories and big ideas, there isn't going to be like, here's the question or the stem and here's the possible answer. So I'm not going to name the theories. You're going to have to already know what theory, the name of the theory being described by a statement. So you're going to get a test item with 5 bullets. Each bullet will be a statement, and each statement will describe a theory, and you'll have to know the name of the theory. And again, there will not be a word bank or like a selection or anything like that. So make sure that you take a look at that. And like I said, it should be towards the end here, but it's just the big ideas. But I notice when I'm monitoring students taking tests, I notice that students tend to get stuck on this one. They'll spend a really long time on this one, and that doesn't really need to be the case. So make sure that you prepare for this one adequately, since it is fill in the blank, but it's just with respect to the theory that is being just talked about. What is the name of that theory? Now, we're going to close this video out with a little bit of a lesson here. So one thing that you also got introduced to in the introductory section for epistemology is the a priori versus a posteriori distinction. Know what is meant by a priori knowledge, the definition and example for sure that Lawhead gives you in the Smart Book. Know for sure what is meant by a posteriori knowledge, the word empirical, definition, and examples as given to you by Lawhead in the Smart Book. Empirical, what does Lawhead say about empirical? I want you to follow this little video. It's about 5 minutes. It's really going to help clarify with more examples what is meant by a priori and a posteriori knowledge. Just keep in mind that the guy, Mr. Moffat, he calls himself, doesn't give you all the possible examples of statements that could count as a priori knowledge, but he gives you some good examples and some good categories. But there are other categories that he does not cover. So watch that video if you need to. You can copy and paste this. So I think that this will help you further understand what Lawhead was talking about in the Smart Book. So I want to end this video with a little bit of a mini lecture to make sure that you really get this information. There's going to be, for these 2 concepts right here, there will probably be multiple choice items. I just checked. Yes, there will be a multiple choice item for at least one of these. So just be prepared for a multiple choice item about a priori knowledge and a posteriori knowledge. And heed that as you're preparing for the test. So know the meaning and nature of a priori knowledge and the meaning and nature of a posteriori knowledge as covered in the Smart Book, but also as I'm about to cover it in like a little 7-minute lecture. But also, you're going to need to identify at least 3 examples that could be a priori knowledge or a posteriori knowledge. So you will have 3 examples, 3 statements, and you will need to categorize them as that which can be known a priori or only a posteriori. So look at all the examples in the book. Maybe look at some examples online. You can easily Google that. Look at the examples that are given to you here. I might create some true-false items that ask you whether a statement is an example of one or the other, of this one or that one, based on the examples that you come across. I might just change the wording a little bit, but I'm also going to give you some examples right now. So let's end this part of the test prep and coaching with a little bit of a lesson. So as you know, oh, by the way, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and watch this video, okay? So you already got some prior knowledge through the book. Now watch this, I think it's like a 4 or 5 minute video, okay? That's gonna really help you to understand even better what you read about. And then after you've done that, resume the video and follow my short little lesson. Okay, so as you know, I'm assuming that you've done all that. There are 2 kinds of knowledge, or a distinction between 2 kinds of knowledge made in epistemology. The terms a posteriori and a priori are used primarily to denote the foundations upon which a truth or a falsehood is known. This is a nice little description. Another way to put things comes from the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. A priori knowledge. I think that this definition is going to help you more than any other definition you've come across in the Smart Book or even Mr. Moffat's video. So something is knowable a priori if it can be known independent of any particular experience or experiences other than the experience of learning the language in which the proposition is expressed. So a proposition is simply a truth or a falsehood. A priori truths are those that we can be certain about just by reflecting on the meaning of some words and thinking about the logic that connects them. Okay, so there's no appeal to the senses. So the reason why I like to present this definition is because some people will be like, well, how can a priori knowledge be a real thing? Because if you have to think about the meaning of the words and you don't appeal to particular experiences, is it really a coherent concept? Because how do we learn language, right? This is other than the experience of learning language. So yes, those who endorse and believe in a priori knowledge will admit that you did have to learn through particular experiences how to read, how to write, how to speak, how to acquire use of language in writing and listening and speaking. So a priori knowledge does make room for that. The point is, when we're hearing a statement or reading a statement with a priori, we can figure out whether the statement says true or false simply by looking at the meaning of some words and thinking about the logic that connects them. The example that Mr. Moffat gave you was all bachelors are unmarried men. All bachelors are unmarried men. That's a statement, right? Of course, I've learned through, school how to read that statement, what those letters in those words sound like, and hence what those words are saying as a whole and individually. But the statement, all bachelors are unmarried men, I don't have to go out and interview and check with every single person that calls himself a bachelor whether or not he's unmarried. Like Mr. Moffat points out in that video, I know just from the meaning of bachelor that if something's a bachelor, it's also an unmarried man. What Mr. Moffat says is you just use your reason. You have a good think. What does he really mean by that? He means that you can just reflect on the meaning of some words and think about the logic that connects them. There is no appeal, however, to particular experiences or physical senses. Now, let's contrast that with a posteriori knowledge. Something is knowable a posteriori if it can be known only on the basis of particular experiences, direct or secondhand, the reported particular experiences of others. So now, this is really important, and you're going to need to know this for the test for sure. When philosophers, especially in epistemology, are talking about experience and knowledge gained from experience, they are, of course, talking about something called empirical knowledge, what it means for knowledge to be empirical. You came across that in the reading, and it's a word that you need to know in your study guide. But when we say that something is empirical or based on experience, we are not necessarily saying the experience of learning the language, okay? Because of course learning language is an experience. So I think this is a terrible way that epistemologists have framed things. I think they should say sensory, sense-based, particular sense-based experiences. So, for example, when I say particular experiences, that is particular experiences using any of your major organs and senses. So your eyes to see, your ears to hear, your eyes to read statements, your ear to hear statements. Of course, you can get information and knowledge through other physical senses. So experiences here refer to experiences that you have in virtue of your sense organs and hence the physical sensory experiences that you have, whether it's through your ears, hearing, eyes seeing, nose smelling, tongue tasting, skin feeling, like for texture and whatnot. A posteriori truths are those that we can be certain about only by using the senses. And again, these are the physical senses through the sense organs that I just named. Notice that I say it could be direct or secondhand. So you could know, for example, what I look like. So you've seen me in a video. If I said, Dr. Carrillo has brown hair, that's the statement. Dr. Carrillo has brown hair. That is a statement that can be known only a posteriori. That statement, Dr. Carrillo has brown hair, there's nothing in the meaning of the words and my ability to think through the meaning of the words and how they connect. That is not going to tell me whether or not it's true or false that Dr. Carrillo has brown hair. I'd have to actually see Dr. Carrillo, an image of Dr. Carrillo, to see if in fact she does have brown hair. I can only know it a posteriori. The words and the meaning and the connections among them in that statement do not allow me to know if that statement is true or false based on reason, a good think, studying the meaning of the words and how they connect. Now, it could also be known secondhand. So maybe somebody, it's the first day of the semester, your friend hasn't watched the video, but they're taking the class with you. Let's say the introductory orientation video. And your friend can tell another friend, hey, we saw Dr. Carrillo. What does she look like? Oh, she's like this lady, this older lady. She has long brown hair. And then you could say, well, how do you know? And then you could say, well, a friend told me they saw a video. So it's still the case. Even if you did not see me on the video, you would still know a posteriori the claim Dr. C has brown hair is true because somebody else saw it with their senses. And of course, we're talking about seeing. Let's just go through a few examples to wrap up this video and make sure you understand this. So we're going to go through some examples, and I really want you to think about how do you figure out whether you can know something a priori? Go with the description here. We can just have a good think, like Mr. Moffat says, use our reason, our intellect, our minds alone to focus on the meaning of some words in a statement or claim and think about the logic that connects them, okay? Whereas a posteriori are those that must make use of either our own or secondary sensory experiences having to do with somebody's or my own physical senses. So Dr. C's car is red. Look at these words. Look at the meaning of the words or what they name, what they point to. Does the meaning of these words and how they connect tell you in and of itself, just having a really good think about the words in the sentence, tell you whether or not this is true or false? It does not. So this can be known only a posteriori. What about any car that is red is a car that has color? All right, so this can be known a priori. I've learned what the word red is. I know what any means, and I also know what color means. I know how all these other words connect to make a certain claim. I already know that if something's red, that it has color, because red by definition is a what? A color. This is a little bit like all bachelors are unmarried men. All things that are red have color. To say any car that is red has color is to say all red cars have color, okay? So this can be known a priori. We're not saying that we're not saying that Dr. C has a red car in the statement, right? But if Dr. C does have a red car, then it's a car that has what? Color, okay? So this can be known a priori. Let's work through some more. There's at least one lion in the Dallas Zoo. Can we know this just by looking at the meaning of the words? Can we know if this is true or false? No. We'd have to actually go to the zoo and look or listen for one, or we'd have to go to the website and read, again, still using our eyes to see if they say they have a lion. We could call them up and listen with our ears to see if there's a lion in the zoo. If there's at least one lion in the Dallas Zoo, there is at least one animal in the Dallas Zoo. Can we know this a priori? Yes, because we know that if something's a lion, it's automatically a what? By definition, an animal. So this can be known a priori. If Sean is holding two paper cutouts, okay, so actually what I'm going to let you do is you could pause the video like Mr. Moffat had you doing in his. Pause the video and try to figure out whether something can be known a priori or a posteriori. I'm going to go over the answers. I won't go over the explanation. For the explanation, I will go over the answers, but I won't explain the answers. I'll give you the answers, and what you'll do is you'll go back up to this to see why a statement gets categorized as a priori or a posteriori. So again, try to figure out whether the examples that I'm about to show you again in this video can be known a priori or a posteriori. Pause the video, and then I'll give you the answer. And then to make sense of why something gets classified as a priori or a posteriori, just go back up to just rewind the video or slide the video thingy back. I don't know what that's called. Video marker, minute marker back, and look at the definitions. Or you can take pictures of this, or you can handwrite it and put it in your notes so that you can refer to it. All right, so I'm going to present to you the other examples, and then tell me whether you can write a priori or a posteriori for items 5 through 10. Pause the video before I give the answers. So 5, you should have said a priori. This can be known a priori, whether it's true or false. Number 6, we can know that whether this is true or false only a posteriori. Number 7, 7 can be known as true or false a priori. 8, I think that this might have been an example with in Mr. Moffat's video. 8 can be known only a posteriori. 9 can be known only a posteriori. And 10, anyone who is under 5 feet tall, 5 foot 2 inches tall is less than 62 inches tall, can be known a priori. Remember, Mr. Moffat gave you a mathematical example. So we just have to know what 5 foot 2 inches is equal to. We know mathematics. We already know that that is equal to 62 inches. Okay, that's all I have for you.